First of all, we'll start with apologies. I know I've got an apology from Pat Seymour for lateness. I'll move that. Second by Councillor Burdett. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Now, declarations of interest. I haven't received any of those, even though I know there might be some, like, hey, it's not important. Confirmation of non-confidential minutes. So, if moved by Councillor Burdett as a true and accurate record, if someone would like to second those. Councillor Wilson, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. So, are there any matters arising with the minutes or the action sheet or the governance work plan? We'll cover those whole three off.
Bridge maintenance program presented to you, Bridge on Walker's Road.
Is this okay?
We can confirm that through the chair. Yeah.
002, it is.
Yep.
We can confirm that. I could send that to everyone for distribution if you want. It was Walker's Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too sure. The scope of the project was just it was minor repairs in terms of the signage and cleaning of the decking. There was no major issues. Mm. The PG, yeah. I confirm whether it's on that maintenance or not.
Okay. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, I'm just, when it comes to the heavy vehicle routes, and I've been on this quite a bit, we've got the spatial plan that's happening now, which seems to have put the timing out of it, the time frame. So I just want to quite nail down a commitment of a time frame when we may see this heavy vehicle routes in place, or a report coming back about it, and possible bypasses accordingly. Please.
So through the chair, the date for that to be due back to committees is in the November round, is when we're talking about bringing that back.
Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, just look on 001 with an investigation into speed limits, Tamaraut, Tapuri. Is the review currently being undertaken? Is that with an open mind about what the speed limit will be, or do we have a aim? Because it talks about a business case. Usually with a business case, you sort of think that you have a position and then look for a case around it. So what's the story there, please?
Can I add to that question while we're at it? And what is that? What is the GDC involvement in that with NZTA?
So Dave, through the chair, Dave, feel free to add me if I miss anything out. So the speed review for Timaru to Tatapoti is part of the NZTA business case that's been looked for State Highway 35 right the way up. So at our Regional Transport Committee, Emma Spate updated the committee around that piece of work that's been put together, and it's looking at the speeds right along State Highway 35. It's called a business case. It's NZTA speak for they're looking into it and weighing it up. The business case is around what's the problem, what's the list of interventions, what's the pros and cons of each of those. There's not a set speed that they're trying to hit for those limits. They're reviewing as to what is appropriate for each and every one of those as it goes along. I'm sorry, Chair, and to your point, NZTA are keeping us informed as it goes along, and we know that we'll get a chance to provide input as that develops up.
So just to clarify the answer to that question, they are, NZTA are working independent of council to build the case.
So through the chair, yes, it's an NZTA project on the state highway. We're keeping informed as the road controlling authority for the area around how we would like to see some of those speeds raised or lowered, depending on where they are.
Okay. Right, any other questions involving the minutes, the governance work plan and the action sheet?
sale of Victoria Dollars. David, I think you and that.
Through the chair, the Ruatoria Dolos are something that we have been working through with that community as part of the Waipu protection works and as part of the Waipu catchment plan. The committee is also aware that it's something we're discussing with the NCTA, their possible uses. So there's still a paper to come back talking about who's going to use which dollars where and who's going to pay for which dollars where as well.
Who in the community have you been working with, might I ask?
So through the chair, there's a couple of areas that we're looking at for the dollars. The first one is the bottom of the Kainanga Hill to try and protect the road that's running through there. And then we're also looking as part of the longer Waipu catchment plan, and it'll be something that will be discussed through the development of that plan.
Councillor McLean.
Through the chair, can I ask David a question? Those dollars, without me knowing too much about them, could they be used at, on the coast at Wainoia? Would that be of any assistance there?
Through the chair, that was completely different works. The dollars that were up in Ruatoria, the rock was a far quicker option for the temporary purposes that we've used.
All right. Oh, well. If there's no other questions, we'll move on. So I don't have any leave of absence other than Councillor Wilson, who said he's going to be leaving next month. And no acknowledgements or tributes. No public deputations. Is there any extraordinary business? I don't have any no notice of motion, but no adjourned business. So we'll carry on to page 14 with the reports. And the first one is Capital Works update.
So through the chair, the purpose of this report is to give an overview of the works that we have going on and the significant spends that we have across our hub at the moment. So we've given an update and gone into a bit more detail around not just our capital program, but also some of our operational spends that sit as well. So the capital works you've seen before, the bits that we've added in here are not just straight capital, they're capital spends, but they're done through the operations. So for example, the chip seal program, the purpose of this is to show you, so I'm on page 16 and at that first sort of orangey box where it says chip delivery. So our chip seal program is quite big. So, and you can see our renewals program there as well. So those programs, it's to show you right now we're in design for those. We're in testing, making sure what we've got. Then we have our chip turning up with the point of laying it through February, March, April, May. Renewals happen sooner, but the purpose of this is to show you where our spends are and how they track from a long way back to be before you actually see anybody turning up and doing the road. This is something we want to turn into our regular quarterly reporting for you, so you can see where those spends are tracking and then also knowing when works are going to start. So, for example, we've put the global consent up there, so we're at consent pre-lodgement, pulling things together at the moment, looking to try and have that for November with Historic Places New Zealand and an iwi consultation to get sign-off going forward. Going further down, we've clicked into some of our operational spends, which are quite large as well. So we've been through capital a number of times, but we wanted to put up some of our operational projects, and now I'm on page 19, which show you where we're doing different types of work at different times of the year, but also where we spend some of our large amounts of money. So in particular, things like water spends around $300,000 per year just on chemicals to make sure our drinking water is safe. If you have a look at it, you can see that most of that spend is actually between October and March, which makes sense because that's our peak water demand time. There's also big things in there like our electricity bill. Sounds really funny, but just for the Waipawa alone, it's about $45,000. So there's things in here to show you where those spends are and for you to be able to have a better oversight of where the spends are and the operational spends as well as the CapEx. Particularly in water, the operational spends are actually significantly higher than the CapEx spends because of what's in there. So that was the purpose of the report, to show you what we're doing where, and then also for like Land Rivers and Coastal, for you to be able to see the different things that we're doing at different times of the year. So you can see how that team is spread doing a range of different tasks and just give oversight of what we try and do at different parts of the year so you can track our progress against that. Happy to take any questions on it.
Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, just one question on page 16, I think you might have just mentioned it, under the global consent, is it really going to take 9 months to get HPNZ and iwi sign off?
Through the chair, we'd hope not. We've put something in there. The global consent is quite difficult for us to do with the works and types we're trying to do, so there is significant consultation that needs to happen. The concerns that we need to address come around Waihi Tapu sites, but then also there are sites of significance. There are also other sites that we need to be careful around the impact of doing works. Under a global consent, we need to make sure that there's protocols around for iwi and hapu to feed into any works that would be enabled under that global consent. Otherwise, we have carte blanche to do anything within the roading corridor, which we agree wouldn't be appropriate either. We need to keep hapu especially engaged in what we're doing.
Councillor Wilson.
Right, now that you've been good enough to show us the detail of this work, how will you report the progress, the historical record of how the projects have gone?
So the historical record is something that we're doing in project closeout reports to show how we've done and what we've delivered against. You obviously see the annual report, which shows what we've spent in which of those budget lines. One of the things that Water in particular has been doing well internally is showing how those projects are completed, if they're on time, on budget, or how they've been put through. We'd like to start putting those up, not the full report because they're big internal documents, but actually putting a précis up of have we done it on time within budget? Was it fit for purpose? And that's something that we'd like to communicate through the quarterly activity report so that you can see a project closeout paragraph for each of those projects to say, was it on time? Was it on budget? Was the quality what we wanted it to be?
Councillor Foster.
Just when related to the PGF projects that are all involved, have we got a better relationship with the PGU with the payment schedules and everything that are applicable to those projects?
So through the chair, the PDU and council has a good relationship around how the funding is spent in the roading. It's quite simple. It's been put through our Transport Investment Online system, which is TIO, which is actually run by NZTA. So the PDU pays the money to NZTA. We then download it as part of our monthly claim. So it's paid through monthly as we hit the projects and as the deliverables are met. For things like business cases, we always front pay those. Every council in the country has to, and then once it's completed, we then raise an invoice with NZTA to then pay for the invoice after the business case as it's been done. So that's happening as part of our monthly claim now we draw down.
Anyone else?
Well done, whoever put that together. All emergency work.
So is it a compliment or is it just something to
Yes,
note?
it's a compliment, Mr. Chair.
If you,
But I'm following up with a question in terms of what David just alluded to in terms of the business case. Despite the money being allocated publicly, with each application, does a business case arrive?
So through the chair, the business cases we have under the Provincial Growth Fund were funded as part of that package of works. We're working through those. As at RTC, we've got to put those through, and they will all take a number of months before we'll have those business cases submitted and seeing what's happening. None of the works we've done so far required a business case on top of what was already provided to the Provincial Growth Fund. It was all part of the regional land transport funding or emergency works that were put through. Also, just to clarify, the bridges that we do have there listed are all ones that came up through need, their asset condition assessment, but also from talking with forestry as to where they were going to be going next. So those are bridges that needed it. They have safety issues or they had asset life issues where they needed to be done. But then we also worked in conjunction to understand where forestry were going to be so that we would be able to be ahead of them. So they had a chance to provide where they want to be, which we then overlaid it where we needed to be. And those were the ones that came up highest, which was a good thing to be doing in conjunction with the Eastern Wood Council.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? So do you just want to flip the pages? Page 16, that's been dealt with. Everybody happy with page 17? Nothing on there that you want to mention? That's where your water supply, stormwater, wastewater, everyone happy there? Okay, we'll go to page 18, 19, operational projects, operational expenditure. No questions, and same again over the page. Okay then, well, if everyone's happy.
I'll move receipt or no reports.
Moved by councillor Wilson, second by councillor McLean. All in favour? Against? Carried. Do not be too fast, we'll be over. Hoping for a few more questions. Right, go to page 23.
So, through the chair, this is a project that we have on the books to put through for the Titirangi Drive one-way road. So this is a topic that's been in front of council a number of times, and it's something that we put back to our consultants to help us with around the feasibility and starting some of the costing to be able to do that work. This is an information report around what we've found so far and updating you our next steps, which we'll update again in November. So is there anything you want to add, Dave?
Next week, the drones will be flying, not just up Titirangi, but also Potai, Nelson. And so what we're going to do is we'll bring to the next committee, basically what it will look like, those options. It's quite, plans. We've got the technology now, so we should use it. So
Don't fly over in my face, I'll shoot it.
we've got to localize it so that. So, yes. I'll put that at a health and safety list.
Yeah, where were you last
Wednesday? The technology is there, and so you should, because it's such a iconic moment, we've got to make sure that you can see what actually is proposed, and then you can make a decision on those options. So they'll be able to show what it will look like if we have to put retaining walls in there, if we have to those options, then you'll see it, and you can make visual. So that's getting to flying next week.
Being so passionate about the hill and look, I totally understand where we're going in the future by having a one-way system and promoting pedestrian-friendly environment and cycle-friendly environment. If you're putting the drones up next week, we've got the hill, the Titirangi Hill Walk Challenge, Climb Everest Challenge. There'll be people all over it. Straight after that's finished, it's empty. There's no one there hardly. Well, there's a lot of people on the walkways and everything. There's people walking on there, but you know the amount of traffic on there while that's on is tenfold compared to what it normally is. You know, from my viewing at the moment, there doesn't seem to be too much of a problem of traffic that goes up there and comes back down again. But I am totally mindful of where we're going with this whole project and where we want to be. And I'm totally in favour of having a one-way system eventually. You know, so the impacts on down at Encliffe Road obviously is a major, will be major for that community down there because there will be significant traffic going down that way. Once everything is all in place and the project is completed with everything finalised up top there from next year when the dwelling is on or whatever construction is going to be happening on the top, that's certainly going to increase the traffic. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm totally in favour of it, but at this current point of time, the traffic flow up there is quite minimal, but it'll just go berserk once the hill challenge starts.
Anyone else? Anyone? Oh, sorry, you're going to?
Sorry, through the chair, the only thing I would say is that the one-waying of Titirangi is in the Titirangi Management Plan, which has been signed off by Council and Ngāti Onioni. So this is something that was approved through that. So this is a business as usual project for us implementing something. So it will be coming back when the final costings are known. Once the final designs, as Dave said, we'll present what it's going to look like visually so that people can see it. part of the considerations in the report are around impacts on traffic to Encliffe Road, and depending on what the future uses are. So there will still always be vehicle access to the top of the Maunga. It's making sure that that's safe for pedestrians and cyclists who are using it. So it is something that we are getting increasing year-round use of as the Maunga, and it's something that we're to be actively encouraging through the reserve management plan for Titirangi as well.
Just on that note, I'd like to congratulate all the contractors and everyone involved with the whole process up there at the moment. You know, it's actually looking fantastic, and you can just see what the vision is for the future. Now that the mound's been taken off by the observatory used to be, the whole area is just, it's got so much potential. Looking incredible. And now that the sail's back again as well, and not droopy. Great.
Councillor Foster. Welcome, Councillor Seymour. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, the only thing I feel a little uncomfortable.
Just a second, we're on page 23. We just started the Titirangi one-way drive.
Yeah, the only thing, uncomfortable thing I find around this is that we are promoting the summit of Titirangi as being an iconic place, and potentially we could have many different events up there, especially with what's been planned at this stage, and it just seems a little incomprehensible that we're to get there. You drive up there and then you've got to carry on all the way around the other way and then come out at Kaiti. Yeah, it's not ideal, and I guess in the end we're just making a compromise, and for safety reasons, probably mainly, and some of the Kororo in here is talking about other safety measures as well, which I think is really appropriate. Try and get the speed that goes up the hill, drop right down. That I believe that's an essential part. But at the end of the day, every extra bit that you put in there is going to cost more money as well. So in the end, it can be an expensive undertaking. Running down the other side, yeah, as it's pointed out, it's a very narrow road with drop-offs on either side. So there's a lot of work to be spent on that project eventually to make it safe and usable. So, and I imagine that the traffic will increase over time. Yeah, you're quite right, Councillor Foster. At the moment, it's only comes and fits and starts with the amount of traffic that's there, but what we're planning there will increase the traffic enormously. So I guess in the end, we have to plan for the future, and this might be the only way to do it.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Any other comments with regard to the paper? And I'd like to just echo Councillor Wilson's thoughts, and I know it's been signed off by council, but and I think it's something that needs to be put into thought when the plan is actually done, is that there are a lot of people who drive up the hill and they might be elderly, they don't get out of their vehicles, and they actually on the way down is the best view of the city. And that is the best view out across they can stop at the corners and they can see, whereas you don't get that view driving up because it's all behind you. And I think that to say, to make it a one-way only is going to mean that people have to get out of their cars, which means you're going to have to provide car parks at those spots. And then those people who are elderly and have trouble getting out of their cars won't be able to. So they'll actually miss out on all that. And I think we really need to, well, as I said, it's been signed off, but maybe I just hope that those points were considered when we signed it off, because I know I've taken my elderly folks up there just for old time's sake to have another look at the town sometime, and we don't actually spend a lot of time getting up to the top. We turn around at the top, have a good look out from the top across the sea to my farm, and see and the environmentally friendly things that we're doing out there, and then on the way down, we stop at those little corners, and they can just see out the car window and have a good look at the whole of the region and that you miss out. So again, I think something to consider. Okay, anybody else with a comment or question with regard to the paper? Right. I'll move that we note the contents of the report. Second by Councillor Burdett. All in favour? Against? Carried. And that's basically us, isn't it? So, thank you, Councillor Seymour, for driving all the way back in a hurry to get here. Councillor Seymour, while you're here, is there anything you'd like to mention in the earlier report, in the capital projects report? Did you have something you'd like to say that you haven't been able to because we're of your?
No, thank you. I did have people look at the capital project report. I'm very much more in an operation. So I'm sure we might get that.
Oh, thank you all for your attendance, and that's the last. Oh, well, if you'd like to, I did ask if there's some extra business.
I went into the visit. Prime Minister and her officials, cabinet ministers, they actually go in from the river in logging trucks. Basically ruined that road, it's a mess. All I'm asking is, how does our contractor catch up on that? Because it'll just get worse. I mean, the whole surface of that road is not meant to have all those trucks through there, but they are there. It's just worse than all the time. The Waikato Tunnel getting back to
I think, Councillor Bird, that your problem that you're suggesting actually fits a whole lot of roads around the whole district, and so it should be sort of a question of all of our roading, and obviously we've got this PGF money now to do a little bit of work with some capital works, and really at the end of the day, it's going to be a question that the next council are going to have to address, isn't it? It's going to be a question that you're going to have to say, well, where to from here, now that the PGF money has been spent, and how we're going to maintain it. So that's going to be really the question you're going to have to ask, and that's my thoughts on that. Have you any other?
Through the chair, we have inspectors out on the network. We have 4 of them that are constantly on the network, plus our own staff that are also looking for faults as well. So we have inspectors on our local road networks, and the team always looking to see where we're going to change and put our maintenance programs. We know that we still have a backlog to work through. We've talked about, even when we got the provincial growth funding, it will take us a good 18 months to be able to kick things up. We haven't even got to 12 yet. So we are still catching up on our roading network. We have a huge metling program that we have been working through. Roads like Waipiro down are ones that we haven't got on the list at the moment because of where the maintenance is. They are on our maintenance list, but they're roads that we need to get to. We have had to prioritise roads first as we go through. When we talk about our PGF spending, the PGF spending, remember, was to help bring the asset up to a manageable condition. And that's what we're underdoing at the moment, is trying to do that. So our provincial growth spend is to try and keep that network, or get the network to a standard that we can then afford to be able to maintain better going. That's something that part of bringing roading into council was to enable us to do, and I know the Journeys team are looking very hard at how we're going to maintain our network and our maintenance contracts going forward.
make it a bit more usable. I've been travelling there for years. I've never seen it.
Through the chair, I'll get someone to go and have a look.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. And while the issue's been raised, I'd like to raise it again, and I did point out at the regional transport meeting about what looks like inefficient operations of road maintenance, and that there's a kilometre of road between the weighbridge out there at the Waipoa Bridge and the Whakatuna Stream, about a kilometre of road, and at the last meeting I said over the last 3 or 4 months that road would have been set up with stop and go signs on no less than 6 occasions for 6 different operations within the kilometre, and including reinstating unstable road section, then the cones come down, then a couple of days later they all come back up again, and then there's a widening of the road by the bridge. Cones come down, then the cones go back up again a few days later, and Then there was a barrier put in, the cones come down, and the cones go back up again a few days later, and there was a scraping out of the grass verge below the road. The cones go down, the cones come back, and then there was a culvert done. And I mentioned this at the meeting, saying that there were 6 operations in over the last 3 months. The cones were constant, and they leave them out between jobs, which people just get blasé to them. And I thought there'd been 6 times, and then since then they've been out twice more. For the cones come out, and then there's a 50-metre scrape of just at the side beside the of bitumen done. Cones go away, except some are left out, and then a few days later, and as they're coming back in yesterday, the diggers were all out there and they can't stop and go. And I've not been a roading engineer, but I look at it from where I'm looking and thinking there's something pretty inefficient going on there. And while it's a state highway, I have to ask the question that we have a serious look at efficiency of these contractors to make sure that we are getting value for money. So.
Through the chair, I'm not too sure how to respond to that question. It's a state highway
It's not a
program.
question, it was a comment of observance, really. So you can respond to it if you wish.
I would respond by saying the safety of our workers on the road is absolutely paramount, and as frustrating as road cones can be, it's something we're going to keep doing, and our TMP requirements, particularly on the state highway, are very, very high for also very good reasons. So, yeah.
That they're there all the time makes the public less attentive to them when there is something happening. But since we are having the opportunity for a bit of a chat, and Mr. Wilson's just told us we've got 4 people out on the network, it would be really good if some of our small roads, I mean, I know where there's only 1 or 2 residents, you can't expect to have a huge lot of metal applied, but Shelton's Road, for example, it's just been raised with me again at lunch, but it was RFS'd in the autumn. The hill section on Shelton's Road, we note, has got no metal on it whatsoever, and there are only 2 residents up there, and it's fine. It gets graded. It's just, I've just been told again, and it's just earth, and that's absolutely fine. As soon as we get 60 or 70 mils of rain like we had last week, I've RFS'd it again, and whether it's not important enough for the 4 people that you have on the network to go near or not, it sure as heck has not had its autumn RFS responded to, and people pay rates whether there's 2 of them or 10 of them up a road, and they really would like just a little bit of attention.
Through the chair, we have a huge network that we're prioritising keeping up. RFSs are responded to as they go through. They have an escalation point. It hasn't escalated to me, that one, so it doesn't pass due, which means someone is working on seeing what it is, but the Metling program is set 3 months in advance for us to be able to put through everything we need to. So we have a big program. Not every road gets metal every autumn. Not every road gets metal every year, depending on the volume and the use for what's going through. We've put through over $3 million more than we've ever put through on heavy metalling in the last 4 months. So we do have a huge program of works. It's just we haven't got to that road yet.
With respect, I've lived in the country on a metal road for 50 years, so I perfectly understand that not every road gets metalled every year, and neither do we expect that. All I'm saying is the portion that was RFS'd in the autumn, which is only the hill section of the road, is still waiting for that RFS to be responded to. And I think we actually know that some of our RFSs have not been responded to as well as they might. So perhaps now it can be looked at. Thank you.
As we're finishing your last meeting, Mr. Chairman, it's appropriate that we thank you for the time that you've been there in your position. Is it 6 years or 9 years? I can't remember now, but I remember when you went to Ming and pushed for the chairmanship. And how many? Wow. 12 years, is it? Well, perhaps I should have said you've been there too long.
He's realised that.
That's easy for you to say because you get the last say. I should have been here this morning. And
But anyway, as chairman, and I went through the same thing this morning. We're all different, and we chair our meetings in a different way. You're a very different sort of person to me. Sometimes it's been interesting the way that you've chaired the meetings, but I feel as though what we were given at these meetings now is a lot more meaningful and a lot more information, and having David in place there, I think for the future is going to make sure that everything's reported to in the manner that it should, to show the progress of projects, which hasn't always happened so much in the past before. I don't think the information has been as good as it is now for both your committee and my committee. So anyway, thanks very much for your performance over the last number of years, and wish you well for the future.